Welcome everybody. Today I am joined by my now good friend, Donovan, and we're here to talk about the bouncebackability factor. And this is Caitlin's work, and she's going to introduce you to it today. And I think it's more important than ever to have this conversation because we had this scheduled before all of the coronavirus situation has escalated to the point that, schools are closing now and, we have so much uncertainty that lies ahead. So yeah, today I'm so happy that we have this conversation and I can bring this to you. So thanks so much, Caitlin, for joining us today.
Thank you, Aisling, for having me. And I'm so grateful to have a space that includes you in it and that you have a space that includes me in it. We connected so well on my podcast and I'm just so grateful to have you in my world. So thanks for having me and thanks for existing.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so I think it's just, I suppose for people to kind of get to know this whole concept of bouncebackability and what that all means, like just kind of bring us back to where that started and how this has come to your life.
Come to be. I am an acupuncturist and a burnout expert, and I'm a burnout expert because I burned out as an acupuncturist multiple times, even though I love Chinese medicine and I love my job and I had amazing patients, some of whom years later I still talk to on a regular basis. So it wasn't that I didn't love my job, but I had all these things, all these ways of being in the world and all these sort of invisible rules that society and culture gives us, especially as women, about how we're supposed to act and how we're supposed to be, that made me act in ways that was not serving my energy. So I burnt out, and then I burnt out again, and then I started doing research. Mm-hmm. And as I dug through the research, I realized that there's about 7 reasons, maybe 8. I have 7 in the book. I still don't know if I'm going to change it by the time it gets published to make it 8.
Yeah.
But it's about 7 or 8 reasons that we burn out. And as I was going through them, I was creating exercises for each one. If this is the problem, what should somebody do to get out of it? If this is the problem, what should somebody do to get out of it? So that it felt like no matter what was going on in your life, you'd have a way out. But back up. Before I did Fried the Burnout podcast, I had another podcast called What Would Kate Say? Because that's what my patients used to ask each other when I was on vacation. Well, have you talked to Kate? What would Kate say? And so, which is hysterical, right?
Yeah.
So I had a podcast called What Would Kate Say? And I was doing an interview style with my best friend. And so we were just sort of like free flowing. We had no plan. We were just chatting and it was kind of open. And I was like, I know, but I just really want people to believe in their own bounce back ability. And then I stopped and I was like, oh, I like that word. Okay. And then I kind of put it on the back shelf for a while. And when I was doing the research for the Burnout book, which is the bounce back ability factor, when I was doing the research for the book, I totally didn't plan on using this word.
Really?
The only thing I was thinking about was why we burn out and how to fix it. And I wrote the whole thing and it didn't sound like me. Mm-hmm. I was reading back through it and I was like, this is just missing something. Like what is missing here? And I happened to be deleting my old podcast. So I was going through the old episodes to make sure there wasn't one I needed to save. Because it was like, I did it for like 10 episodes. Some of them were only 10 minutes long. This was like a 5-hour project. This was not,
Yeah.
So I was like just going through them and I heard myself say it and I went, oh, that's the missing piece. So I basically went through from the very beginning of the book and wove the thread of bounce back ability through it. And bounce back ability to me is a combination of 4 things, right? It's a combination of resilience and trust and grit and surrender.
Oh, I love it.
Right? So it's all 4 of those things, especially when you're, like you said, we planned this talk before coronavirus exploded. And we're in this place now where we can't just fall into, let whatever happens. We've got to have some sort of grit to get through this. We've got to stock our pantries and make sure we're being as vigilant as possible with our hand washing and not go outside if we've started a cough and, protect our families and our communities and our elderly and our immunocompromised and our. And we have to do all of these big things, and it requires resilience and grit for sure. But it also requires an element of trust that you and everyone else is doing everything that you can. And it also requires an element of surrender. Like, this is what it is. Mm-hmm. And while you need to grit a little bit, you also need to just accept that this is what's happening. So it's kind of just a really big blend of all of those things. And when you have a high bouncebackability factor, my belief is that you understand on a very, very deep level that no matter what is happening in you or around you, you will eventually be okay. Maybe different than you were before. Mm-hmm. Maybe changed, maybe stretched out a little, maybe shrunk a little, maybe, mm-hmm. maybe different, but you will bounce back. And this is why I write in the beginning of the book that I don't love the word resilience, because when you look up the definition, it's like, you stretch an elastic band and it is supposed to, as easily as possible, return to its original form. Mm. That's not what happens with people. That's not a human word. Yeah. We do not become the same person that we were before when we go through hard things.
No.
We bounce back into something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, completely. You're never the same person.
No way.
No, and I think the world is going to be completely different from this whole experience as well.
I agree.
Right now. And I think the hardest part when you are going through that, say, is just, as you say, like the surrender to like what is happening, but also that thing, like to trust actually that it will pass, that things will actually get better. And I think I could just feel it like because I went shopping earlier, and I can just feel like this panic, like everything, fight or flight. You can feel the cortisol racing through everybody. And it's just like, I suppose, having that kind of being able to have that calm within the storm of what's happening.
Yeah, and I will say, in the midst of this, I was also at the grocery store this morning, and I could feel the cortisol rushing through my own body. Mm-hmm. But what I did on purpose before I went into the store was I said, okay, I'm going to do this step by step. If I forget something, I'm going to backtrack. And if it's not available, I will look for a substitute. And if it is not available, I'm just going to drop it and assume that I will survive the next 2 weeks without it.
Yeah.
Like I had to say something to myself. I had to practice this. So even though I'm a burnout expert, even though I coach people through this every day, even though I treat people with acupuncture to get them out of this state, the thing about bounce back ability to me is that, like, you're still going to go into the muck. Mm-hmm. You're still going to feel things. We are all connected. So when there is mass like hysteria, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
Because you're not a robot. I feel like there's so many systems and techniques that are designed to make robots out of us. Like, just be okay no matter what. Find the silver lining. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
But when you're it's very hard to, I think you can get to that place when you've moved beyond it, but I think when you're in it, it's very hard for you to see the wood from the trees. And
exactly.
Also that, like as you said, you can't bypass your actual emotions, how you feel.
Which is why I love the work that you do so much. Like, the moving from fear to trust model is not saying that you'll leave fear behind forever. It's saying when you feel it, you'll move from fear to trust again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
Right? This is bounce back ability.
Yeah. Oh,
it's the same thing, really. It's the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, but I find, how it's like that message came through you and through your life, and also this message came through my life. It's like, because the times that we're living in are like turbulent. There's a lot changing, and they're not like just, like fluffy little mantras to be saying, but they're actually, they're like, yes. Oh my gosh, they're like anchors to be able to go through life experience.
Yeah. Thank you for saying it that way. That's a beautiful way to say it. And I think that that's exactly the truth of it for me, because I got so sick and tired of being so far in the positive thinking movement that no one was feeling anything anymore. Yeah. And I'm sitting there saying, like, but you're supposed to be devastated when,
yeah, ...
Like, that's the natural human reaction, even if it's a human cultural reaction, because different cultures react to different things differently.
Yeah.
But fine, there is a system of existing that's encoded into your body, and ignoring it completely is just not human. And
No.
I want, part of this book to me is getting female entrepreneurs back to the place where they can constantly grow themselves. I don't necessarily mean grow financially. I just mean grow within themselves so that they can take up more space in the world. Because I really, truly believe that the more female entrepreneurs there are, the more money will end up in female hands. And when we have crises like this, the more reasonable we're going to be, because women do things a little bit differently. We have a little bit of a different perspective. We care about communities at large a little bit more. And right now, I think the closing down of things is really important. And I'm really glad that the governments are making those decisions. And I think they're doing a good job. But, in the United States, we don't have enough testing kits for people. So I had a patient that I haven't seen, thankfully, but she said, she went to the hospital and she has half the symptoms. And they said, well, you only have half the symptoms and we don't have enough kits. So we're only testing people who are like full blown.
Yeah.
But can you imagine that happening if a woman was in charge?
No,
Neither can I. And I'm not saying that women are perfect and that they never make any mistakes or anything like that. I'm just saying that I really believe that if we can even out the levels of wealth between men and women, we will change the history of the world in a way that makes us more community focused, more heart centered, kinder, and more considerate of issues like this, in that way. So that's part of this book is helping female entrepreneurs to get to a place where they can continue to grow instead of crash and burn in their businesses and then give up because they're too exhausted to continue,
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one part.
That's massive, because I have so many conversations with people who will hopefully be listening to this recording today, and if not over the weekend, but like just how we're being taught, like, to succeed, we have to follow this like constant pushing, constant doing model. And it's like, it's never enough. It's like, there's more, do this. And I just think that's why I really resonate with both you as a person, but also as your message, because I think it's not a nice to have thing, oh yeah, maybe I'll just get that book and have a read of it. It's actually like a call to, we have to change the way that we're operating.
Yeah, this is a call to my hashtag that goes along with the book. Of course, you can hashtag the Bouncebackability factor as many times as you want, everybody. I will love it. But my hashtag that I've created for the book, it says right on the cover, join the movement, hashtag end burnout culture.
Yeah.
Right. And this is important for that reason. It's also important because when we're burnt out, our immune systems are shot all the time, right? So we're getting sick, which is not useful.
Yeah.
And underneath it all, underneath both of those things, I just want people to have faith in themselves again, faith in their own bounce back ability.
Yeah.
Because we're all fascinated by bounce back ability in other people, like you hear the story of a woman who was a runner and then lost her legs in a car accident and then ended up running the Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you're like, how
on prosthetics.
How is this possible?
Right. And those are always really inspiring stories to us. And we eat them up on YouTube like crazy because we love being inspired that way. But what I want each person that's listening to this to know is you are also that person.
Yeah.
And if you are burnt out right now, then realizing your own bounce back ability and bouncing back into something that's better for you is just as courageous as all of those stories.
Yeah.
Right? Fighting against the typical rules and ways of being and ways of doing things, and not agreeing to have burnout culture part of your personal life. That's a courageous act.
Oh my gosh, it is, because it goes against the way that we're being so programmed into, in order to be successful, in order to make the money that we want, that we have to work crazy hours and push as hard as we possibly can to get there.
Yeah, and that's not doing any of us any favors.
No, and because it is, like, as you said, this kind of crash and burn type of culture, but also I think within that, it's like we can't access our wisdom within that you know,
Yeah.
we're just in survival mode the whole time. So how can we
Right.
innovate? How can we dream up new ideas and do these things that are like, you know, the higher functionings of our being?
Well, and this is really important thing that you say, and this is something that I want people to listen to really carefully. The latest research on long-term stress damage to your brain is that you have a lack of clear communication between your left and right hemispheres. Okay, so your left hemisphere is overactive and your right hemisphere is underactive. So this sort of, you know, go, do, compete, be, act world, which is very left-brained that we live in, has completely taken over. And you literally lose your ability to properly dream and imagine and visualize and hope. And you don't feel prayer and you don't feel gratitude, not because you're not grateful, because your brain connections do not exist in a way that allows you to feel it properly. So this is like one of the things that I hear from people is, you know, I tried to do a gratitude journal, but it didn't do anything for me. And, you know, you go through, well, did you use very specific examples? And did you allow the feeling to blossom in your body? And did you, like, there's all these things that you can do to make gratitude journals more powerful, because they have been scientifically proven to be a powerful tool. But if your right brain is not online, shit's not going to work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That reminds me so much, right, of, I had a chat with, I can't remember now, this lady. It was like, it was very soon after my mom's funeral. And it was basically, I was going for like this position, like a job to be teaching workshops and stuff. So anyway, they were just having a chat all about like what I do in my work. Now I could barely even stand up, never mind talk about what I did at the time, because I was like, I don't know who I am anymore after all this happened. But I remember them saying like, so like, what are you passionate about? And at that moment I was just like, nothing.
Yeah.
Because I actually was so traumatized.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't feel any passion. So I think that's a huge part of it, isn't it? It's being able to like,
Yes,
realize that people are traumatized, and then you're asking them to do this step that they're not able to, because as you say, you're actually cut off from that part of you when you're in those states.
Yeah, and this is incredibly important. And also, this is why part of the Bouncebackability system is allowing yourself time to quote unquote sit in the muck. Because if you do not feel passion, there is healing that needs to happen before the passion will come back. You can't just start thinking about passion and hope that it'll pop back in your brain or your body.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it's not going to happen that way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that like we have this and I'm so guilty of this. So this is not a judgment on other people. This is a total, I will actually use a terrible example from my own life, just to be very clear about the fact that I'm aware that I'm part of the problem. I was a fertility acupuncturist for the first 4 to 6 years of my practice, almost solely. All I did was fertility all the time. And it was really hard for me. I did not love it, but I was very successful at it. And that was one of my burnout things, that I stood by what was comfortable and successful for me financially, instead of, you know, pivoting when it was time. But anyway, I was so uncomfortable with other people's discomfort after doing this for a couple of years, because you live every disappointment with them. You know, every time they're not pregnant, you live it with them. And so one of my patients had gotten pregnant and lost the baby, but she had been trying for 7 years, and that was the first time she got pregnant. And before giving her time to grieve, I said, but isn't it good news that we know that you can get pregnant? What an awful thing to say. And what I was telling her in that moment was, your grief is too hard and too ugly for me, and I don't believe in my own ability to hold space for you. So I'm going to pretend and try and focus your attention on something more positive, so that you will look more pleased to me, so that I will feel more comfortable. Right? When your mom just died, you're not supposed to feel passion.
No.
You know, like, that's not, you're supposed to sit in the muck.
Yeah.
And create space for healing, so that you can find a way to passion again, but you'll bounce back to it. It might not be the same one you left behind.
Yeah. And I think that's a huge thing though, isn't it? It's like that we don't know how to navigate those uncomfortable emotions, or when somebody has had like a tragedy, how to
No.
actually be with that person instead of bypassing it.
Well, we don't trust ourselves with those emotions, so why would we trust other people?
Yeah. Yeah, I really agree with that. Just like being in the mud, and because I think when you actually go into the pain, it's like that's the only way you can heal. It's like you have to go into the feeling. You have to fully immerse yourself in it. And I think we're afraid that we'll be there forever. But it's the understanding that as you fully feel it and allow it, and whatever wants to come up, it eventually passes. It might take a while, but it will eventually pass when you fully surrender to it.
Yes, and this is an entire series of exercises in the book.
Yeah.
How do you sit in the muck, and how long do you stay there?
Oh my gosh. I needed that book back in 2010, I think, when I was just like, I hate myself. I don't know what to do with this. I feel so bad all the time. And, and I'm doing all the things. I'm eating perfectly, but like inside, I feel like I'm, dying basically.
Yeah, and so the book, like I have a lot of things that are geared towards female entrepreneurship in the book, but I kind of have a gut feeling that this idea is going to spread to
others.
People.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to be stuck in the female entrepreneurship world. I wrote it to female entrepreneurs because there's a gap there, because I didn't find that book when I went looking for it. Female entrepreneurs and burnout, like whatever. Now there's starting to be more because it's a bigger topic now. But when I looked, there was nothing. There's plenty of all of the research on burnout is based on corporations.
Really?
And hospitals.
That's helpful.
What about mothers?
Yeah.
What about stay-at-home mothers? What about work-from-home moms? What about female entrepreneurs? What about teachers?
Yeah.
My poor teachers. No, we're only talking about corporate environments.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
We all go through this.
Yeah. So tell me where you are with the book now in terms of you are doing a crowdfunding for getting it edited and all that. So tell us all about where you are.
Yes. So I finished the book, and now, of course, I always think it's not finished because I also have that internal fear of not being good enough. So I'm like, oh, the book isn't, I forgot to write this. I didn't say that. I didn't say this. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of that going on, especially right now as we near the end of the campaign. But when I finished the book, I had just come out of a 4-month injury. And so I spent the time during the injury writing the book. And I, of course, was out of work for all of that time. So I always assumed that I was going to self-publish because I didn't know how to find a publisher, and I didn't want to figure it out. I was just like, I'll just get it out there. Mm-hmm. And then I started looking into what it would cost to get it edited, and what it will cost to get a book cover made, and what it will cost to have somebody help me with the launch so that it reaches as many people as possible, and what it would cost to. And before long, I was at like $7,000. And I was like, I haven't worked in 4 months. Like, I don't have spare $7,000 lying around. And so I basically just pushed the project aside and totally ignored it for months until somebody just randomly was like, oh, I guess you could maybe try crowdfunding. And I was like, oh, I have things to give. I could create some good rewards. Mm-hmm. And I had just been, of course, as these things go, the universe is funny. As these things go, just a month prior to that conversation, I had been at a workshop, a full-day workshop, where one of the panelists was the co-founder of a platform called I Fund Women, which is designed to help women raise capital and raise money for their businesses and their projects, etc. So I was like, I already know what platform I'll use. And once I started that, I just rolled with it. So now the campaign is until March 27th. I'm just about 60% funded, so I still need 40% to get to my goal. And it's been really fun and really exciting. Like, for the campaign, I had a friend of mine who she's a Reiki master, and she produces holistic health products. So she made a roller of essential oils, and it's a blend of stress adaptogens. And there's no lavender in it for calming, because I was like, if you give me lavender, I will jump off a bridge. Everything has lavender in it. I want something a little bit different that will awaken people's senses, help them calm down, and increase their bounce back ability and their adaptability. So she created this blend that I am totally in love with. It's a little bit spicy and everybody seems to love it. So she created this blend that is part of one of the rewards. And she also created a third eye, she calls it a third eye pillow, but an eye pillow that is hand dyed with sustainable dyes, sustainable fabrics. She sews them by hand also, and they're filled with flaxseed and rainbow fluorite crystals. And the rainbow fluorite crystals are only in the third eye pillows that are made for the campaign, because in her own that she sells on her website, she uses something different. So I just got really excited and I rolled with it. And within the first week or two, I was at 40%. And of course it slows down in the middle and then picks up closer to the end. But I feel really excited. And I feel like when people are contributing to the campaign, to me, it's about contributing to the book, but it's also about contributing to all the other female entrepreneurs that I'm paying to get this book made, right? My editor is a female entrepreneur. The woman who will help me with my launch is a female entrepreneur. The woman who's doing the book cover is a female entrepreneur. The woman who helped me make my video is a female entrepreneur. The woman I've already gotten a request to translate the book into Polish. So I'm getting a donation in order to make that possible sometime in the next 2 weeks. The woman that will translate the book into Polish is a female entrepreneur. So I feel like you're supporting the book, you're supporting other female entrepreneurs, you're going to be getting the information from the book for yourself. And I've just decided last week that everyone who contributes is also getting access to a free live masterclass that I'm going to do April 3rd.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to make it as big and as bad and as fun for people as possible. And underneath all of that, you join the movement to #end Burnout Culture, which I think that's my big goal,
I love it. And I'm totally behind you and can't wait to share this.
Thank you.
Yeah, just for people who again, want to, because I think it's like where your energy goes and where you invest your money. It's like, that's what you're saying. This is what I want for the future. So it's like, it's saying yes to like what we want to create, not just for what your work is on an individual level, but like what we actually want to all create collectively together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think the feminine is supportive, is collaborative, and we don't need to have that like, that competitive thing that we've got. That's
been a beautiful thing about our relationship. I mean, people don't see the way we talk to each other on Messenger and in the background, but one of the things that's happened since we've caught up is that kind of when I'm a little bit down, you find a way to like come in and lift me up. And when you're a little bit down, I find a way to come in and lift you up. Yeah. We are basically writing the same book in different words.
Totally. And
I'm so into it. Let's write all the books in all the different words so that everybody can feel it, because not everybody's going to react to my words. We all need to have space for this. So I'm totally I can't wait for your book.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, thank you so much, Caitlin. And yeah, I'm so I was just like, I just feel so inspired by, as you say, like our interactions and our relationship behind the scenes. People might not see like how we support each other and everything. That's the power though.
Right, exactly.
And it's like, if we can keep multiplying that and keep bringing people into this, it's like we can support each other and we can support really this collective movement to end that culture, end that burnout culture.
Exactly. Well, I when you contribute to the campaign, there's an option to add a note. And I didn't realize that right away. So I downloaded my list of funders just to start gathering some information. And I looked and there's all these messages from people I love saying like, I'm so proud of you and I can't wait for this to happen. And this is so necessary. And all of these things. And I was like, it just made, I'll cry right now, but it just made me feel so expansive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm crowdfunding, not just for the fact that I would love to be published by a publishing house, that's wonderful. Yeah. But maybe that's the next book. I'm really happy that this book isn't just about me. It makes me feel good that this book is about us.
I know. Yeah. It's like so many people's energy is coming together and saying yes to this. I'm holding the space for you.
Yeah.
I'm giving you my energy so that you can make this happen for us all.
Yeah, I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah. So powerful. I think it was kind of divinely orchestrated to be that way.
I think so too.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so we'll include all the links anyway below for everyone to check that out. And if you want to be part of the movement, then I highly recommend supporting Caitlin's work and getting this book out into the world, and just checking out all those beautiful rewards that you have created for us.
And the masterclass that I'm going to offer to people that have contributed is available to you whether you contribute $1 or 500.
Yeah,
it's available to everybody that contributes. So literally send me 50 cents. I will be so grateful.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. And so so what are your final words, and like what's your kind of like hope for like what's the next step for like bringing this out into the world, and just where we are in this time as well?
In this time, my hope is to really reinstill in people true unbreakable faith in themselves. Mm-hmm. True unbreakable faith in their own bounce back ability. Faith that they can sit with the hard emotions and do the hard things and handle it. Whether that means they don't, not on their own. I don't necessarily mean that you can do this on your own. In the book, it's very clear that we need community, and part of being bounce backable is knowing when to reach out for help. Mm-hmm. Right? That's really important. But I really just want to reinstill this inner faith. Mm-hmm. That no matter what, we'll be okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.